So I just got done watching Insidious 2 and 3, but let's talk about Part 2, Chapter 2. They're going by chapters now instead of parts or volumes. Chapter 2, and makes sense why it's Chapter 2, because this takes place right after the events of Part 1. It's not like a Chapter 2 or Part 2 where it's like a whole new house and people. This is right after the events of Part 1, and I love that. Now, this has Barb from Curse of Chucky. I didn't recognize her because of all the makeup, but the one, where Chucky's like, your eyes are too fucking close together. Barb is in here. She plays Mrs. Crane. I wonder if that name is in reference to Psycho, Marion Crane. And there's a painting in Elise's room that is the same painting from the Paranormal Activity movies. Thought that was cool, and it makes sense. You got the maker of the first Paranormal Activity producing this one, and Jason Blum, and they're behind this. So, of course, this is once again directed by James Wan and written by Leigh Whannell, and it tells a story about the Lambert family. I wonder if that's a reference to Mary Lambert, who directed American Psycho and Pet Sematary, if my memory serves me right. Oh, all these names, I'm like, I bet that's for that person, whatever. I'm just recognizing all these names. So you got the Lambert family, and the dad is still possessed from the events of Part 1 at the end. He's got the bride in black. Yeah, that's the name. The bride in black is in him, and shit ain't over yet. They think they're in the clear, but they're not. And we gotta save the dad, or the dad will kill them all. So let's get into all my thoughts, pros and cons, in this week's Horror Franchise Wednesday. Let's start off with the things that I like. First up, huge fan of continuity. I love that this picks up right after the events of Part 1, like right after. It shows you the ending shot, picks up right after that. They're at a police station being questioned about the death of Elise, and I just love that. I love all the returning kids. They got the same exact two kids from the first movie. This is being filmed like 2 years later, so you can see the one kid is clearly older. He's a little taller, but they don't care. They're like, whatever. We're not gonna get a new kid and be like, oh, it's the same guy. No, it's not. All right. I love the continuity in this franchise, and it gets carried over into the third one too. You still got Elise, the character played by Lin Shaye, and then you got Leigh Whannell and Samson. I think that's his Angus. Yeah, he plays Tucker. You got all these returning characters. Rose Byrne, love it. So I can't stress enough how much I love continuity when you're telling a story like this and it's picking up after. You gotta have the same people, otherwise it just takes me out of it. If it's a new person that's the same character, like in Hatchet 2, when you got Danielle Harris, I almost blanked on her name. Danielle Harris, when she replaces Mary Beth. As much as I like Danielle Harris, I don't like that it's a new actress. So, yeah, it's that important to me. Another thing I like about this movie is the opening flashback to like 86, I think it said. It was like the 80s. And I love, again, that they chose to keep the voice of Lin Shaye's character, Elise, with the older version of herself. Like, they have this new actress playing younger Elise, but instead of using that actress's voice, they use Lin's voice and dub it over for continuity. So it sounds like Elise. Even though it's a new actress playing a younger version, it still sounds like Elise that we know from the first movie as an older woman. So I just love that they did that. Again, I think this movie has good cinematography. I think James Wan does a good job once again. A lot of stuff I said about the first movie, prose-wise, could be easily applied to like 2 and some of it to 3, because Leigh Whannell directs that one. So it's a little bit of a different style, that movie, when it comes to the directing and whatnot. But there's not a whole lot to say. Like, these are going to be shorter and shorter, these reviews. So I don't have too much to say. I'm not going to try to bullshit and try to stretch it out. So I'm just going to get through this. Not too much bad to say either. But I do like the third act in this movie better than the first one. I still think part one's a little bit better than this one, but I like the third act and this one more. I think the tension's a lot more ramped up. It starts turning into like The Shining. You got the possessed dad attacking the family. It's not a spoiler because I already told you the plot synopsis. So, not spoiling anything. You know the dad's possessed. It's an old movie too. So, if you're mad that you think I just spoiled something, get over yourself. It's old. It's your fault. Whatever. Possessed Josh, I like him. I like the actor. I'm blanking on his name. Patrick Wilson. I like him in this movie. Once again, him playing a whole new character too. So this guy gets to show his range. He's playing a family man, a family guy. He's playing a possessed guy trying to kill his family. So he's got a lot of range. The only thing bad to say about this movie is the twist is not interesting. We've been there, done that. All right. If I said what movie, that would be a spoiler. So, but it's been done. All right. And it's not as scary as the first one, although, movies don't scare me, but looking at it from like a different perspective, like, would this be scary? Some parts, but it just feels kind of repetitive at this point. And then after watching part 3, also, I'll be talking about that right after this review. Same stuff, same formula, same feel. It's just repetitive. And not in the fun way, like Friday the 13th, where you're just, it's the same movie, but I don't care. It's fun. This isn't fun. It's just the same movie again and again. They change up things a little bit, but not enough to make it stand out. So, a little repetitive at this point, especially, like I said, after watching 3. Not as scary, and a twist, not really that original. So, final thoughts. I thought this was a good sequel. It's not better than the first one, but it's close. I like the continuity. There's not that much bad to say about it. If you like the first one, I can't see you hating this one. So when it comes to Insidious Chapter 2, go out and buy it. Now, the hottest chick in this movie is, once again, Rose Byrne. Renai, that's the character's name. And the best scene in this movie is the Parker Crane bedroom scene, where they go to Parker Crane's bedroom. You got all the rocking horses. I like all the imagery in that scene, and the slight comedy from Leigh Whannell's character and Tucker when they're looking behind them and they see it and they're like, let's get the fuck out of here. Now let's go into the spoiler discussion. So we open up with young Elise, and she's got old Elise's voice, which is great. And we go to the police interrogation, so I love that this is picking up right after the other one. And the marks on her neck, I found it weird that when we see Elise, we just see like bruises on her neck, but then there's like this photograph of her neck, and it's like all bloody, like he dug his thumbs into her neck. And then we get the piano playing by itself. It's playing that song from the first movie that Renai was writing. And then we get reintroduced to Leigh Whannell's character and Angus's character, and they play a bigger role in this film. And they do Hunter, Ninja, Bear. I thought that was an interesting spin on rock, paper, scissors. It's pretty funny. He's like, how does a bear beat a ninja? Because. And Josh, he's talking to himself because he's possessed. I think the audience knows that. We see Josh in the older tape, and that's a neat little twist. Towards the end, we find out that time travel is in this. Just like in Paranormal Activity, we got time travel. I like that they go back and they show like, oh, that knocking in part 1, that was the dad knocking on the door. And, he was in the tape in 1986 talking to his younger self. I thought all that stuff was cool. Doesn't make much sense, but it's cool. It makes you like go back and you watch the first one. Now when you hear that knocking, like, I know who that is. We get to learn why this Bride in Black has been going after the son. He was a patient at the mom's hospital, and the son should have listened to the mom. None of this would be happening if he just would have stayed away. She said, don't touch anything. He started touching like the respirator thing and woke up Parker Crane, so that's your fault. Josh, is that your... Yeah, Josh. And then we get this dun 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 moment. That's what I call it. Where she's in the elevator and Parker Crane's with her, and then she talks to like the receptionist, like,
I just rode down in the elevator with him. He should be in bed on the monitor with fluids.
Lorraine, that patient died yesterday morning.
What?
And then we get this dice scene, and this guy has like 10 dice, and they're 6-sided, and there's 26 letters in the alphabet. And this is how he talks to the dead. He's asking them questions, not yes or no questions, like questions. What if there wasn't enough letters or vowels on the dice to spell out what they want to tell you? But yeah, it like sets up a neat like scare, I guess, when Josh is like, what am I holding behind my back? Ask your dice. And he rolls the dice and it spells out knife. I thought that was kind of clever. So we also see that Josh is falling apart. Like, as the longer the soul's in him, the dead soul, the more his outer body, the shell, will deteriorate. But as soon as he got possessed, he strangled Elise, and the police say that the fingerprints don't belong to Josh. And they don't tell us who they belong to, but they don't belong to Josh. So it took over his fingerprints. Like, his fingerprints changed that quick, but it took over a day or two for his teeth to start falling out and his fingers to start getting all white. Like, it was that quick, his fingerprints. Whatever. So then we see the Bride in Black claims his... we find out, like, his whole lore, all these newspaper clippings, this kind of cliche, like, oh my gosh, the whole chest of clippings, and we find out that this guy's mom, played by Barb from Curse of Chucky, wanted a daughter, so she forced her son to dress up like a girl because she hated her husband, I guess, and she always wanted a daughter. So she took it out on the son. Where's the dad? They don't say the dad's dead, I don't think, so I don't know how this crazy bitch has custody still. You think it would be easy for him to get away from her, but I guess not. But yeah, she dressed him up like a girl, so he grew up to be a psychopath, naturally, and he's killing women all the time because his mom's voice in his head told him to. And the reason why he wants to be Josh and why he's been stalking him his whole life was because he wants to be a boy again. He wants that life he never had. But when Josh grew up, why is he still after Josh? Like, that's the reason we were given. Like, he wants to be a boy again. Well, why is he still after Josh? He's like a 40-year-old man now. You think he'd be going after Josh's son, but he's not. He's after Josh. Whatever. He's kind of look past it. Angus and Specs get knocked out. They fall on top of each other, and Josh, he knocks them all out. They're all passed out on the ground. All three of them, Carl included, Mr. Dice Guy. And he doesn't kill them. Why not? Like, he had a knife behind his back. He clearly had intention to murder them all, and they're all passed out. Easy peasy, stab, stab, stab. Just lets them live, but then wants to kill the family. Like, why? Convenience. That's why. But then this movie turns into The Shining, basically, and you got Josh attacking the family. He's got the baseball bat to the door, trying to break it down. I'll huff and I'll puff. And Lin Shaye's character, she's thrown back into the movie, except now we get to see her in the further, and she's helping them out from beyond the grave. I thought that was kind of clever to write her back into the script. But we find out that she left heaven. Like, she flat out is like, I was in that better place. And I think she's talking about heaven. And she's like, I left it to come back to help you. No one would leave heaven to help anybody. Get the fuck out of here. And then Carl's still alive. I like how Carl is not bummed out when he's told by Josh that he's dead. He's like, I'm sorry, you're dead. That's why you're here. And he's like, oh, all right. And then when Elise is like, I hear your heartbeat, you're actually still alive. You can go back to the real world. He's like, oh, all right. He's not bummed out that he thought he was dead. He's not bummed out that he knows that, or excited that now that he knows he's actually still alive. He's like, whatever, I could take it or leave it. Dead, alive, I don't care. I love when Tucker bursts through the door. Like, once the dust is settled and everything's okay, he just bursts through the wall like, bring it! It's like, it's too late, buddy. It's like that trope in horror movies when the cops arrive, when everything's settled and done. The bad guy's gone, but the cops still arrive. Like, we're here to save the day. It's like, you're too late. And then they hypnotize them to make sure that they'll never sleepwalk again and go into the further. I also love that it takes like a while for Renee to trust her husband. Like, she just saw her husband, even though it wasn't really her husband, but she's seen the physical form of the man she loves attack her and her family, And as soon as he's like back to normal, she's still like, I'm not hugging you. Like, I don't trust you. I just thought that was funny. It's realistic too. And yep, it's basically, I have written down sleepaway camp flashback. And yeah, I think that's all of it. So I don't want to ramble on too long. That is the end of Insidious Chapter 2. Now I will be going into Insidious Chapter 3 right after this. But that video will not be posted until a week later. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button, share with all your friends. Let me know what you thought about this movie too in the comments below. Forgot to say that. Join my Patreon. You can request movie reviews, and you can be a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.